good the qualities of a leadership drawn from the Bible, and what should be considered to be followed by the leadership of today is society. So relax and listen and read from the book of Samuel, First Samuel chapter 8, verses 12 to 24 or to 18. Sorry. Israel land and people of destiny, a glorious kingdom and its fall. Judges and kings, when a strong man or a woman arose to lead them, they won victorious. But then lapsed into a lawless state. The people seemed to forget that God was still their king, even when they were being led by such a faithful man as Samuel. So God gave them a giant of a man to be their king, named Saul. Kingship was to teach the people a lesson of the folly of trusting in a faulty human king. First Samuel chapter 8, verses 11 to 18. It also failed the years before a king of the appointed line of Judah could be installed. Judah's bastard son, Pharez, and his descendants in the royal line could not take office until the 10th generation. Deuteronomy chapter 23, verses 2. David was their first generation who could take office as king. The little genealogy at the end of the book of Ruth illustrates this point of all the sons of Jesse. David was a man after God's own heart. In spite of his occasional lapses, for Samuel chapter 13, verses 14, the golden years, the example of godliness set by David, the faith that he exuded, the courage that he displayed, the leadership that he undertook, the appreciation of God's love and care that he showed, and the fact that God saw fit to use him as a vehicle for prophecy, all combines to make David a model and an example for all time. The fact that he also had failings enabled him to show to others, that God is able and willing to grant of forgiveness to the repentant sinner. While David's mind was fully conscious of the great and precious promises that God had made to the fathers of the nation, his mind was not anchored in the past. As a prophet, he foresaw God's ultimate purpose with his people and with all the nations Under David's guidance, he wrote amazingly detailed prophecies of the role of his illustrious descendants, who was to be born 1,000 years later, that David should call this descendant my Lord, my Lord. Surely, proof of David's humility, in spite of his position of high honor as king of God's chosen people, reigning over the kingdom of the Lord. 1 Samuel chapter 12, verses 12. 1 Chronicles chapter 28, verses 5. The reigns of David and his son Solomon were the high peak in the history of Israel. David prepared for, and Solomon built the very beautifully proportioned temple that stood on the highest part of Mount Moriah, above the little walled city of Jerusalem. It is simple design was a contrast with the extravaganzas that were erected to the heathen idols of other nations. It was unique, but Solomon had not the humility of his father. He had been born with a golden spoon in his mouth. While he started very well, he was a cunning politician and a very shrewd businessman with a tremendous sense of selfish confidence, by making many marriages of convenience with princesses of neighboring kings. He gained control of the whole of the area that had been promised to Abraham, from the river of Egypt to the great river of Euphrates. Ambitious scheme led him to be oppressive of the people, and the introduction of idols to please his foreign wives, and Agag the Lord, Agag the God of Israel, of those over whose kingdom was he had been placed on trust. On his death, there was a rebellion, and the kingdom was split. The divine correction. That is another point. The southern kingdom of Judah, based around Jerusalem, retained the kings of the royal house of David. Northern 10 tribes kingdom of Israel, sometimes called Ephraim, suffer a series of kings of fortune who, in their anxiety to prevent their people from defecting to Judah, led them